minutes we'll start. We'll wait for a few minutes for people to join.
No problem.
Hi, Manish. Manish, you're looking.
Good morning, Pradeep.
Manish, you're looking.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You're looking 10 years younger.
Are you seeing any change?
Yes, yes. I'm saying you're looking 10 years younger.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Look forward to hear from you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, sir.
We'll start in another 2 minutes. We'll just wait for 2 minutes and then.
Yes, please. Certainly.
Yeah, great. I guess let's start. So, good morning once again, all of you, and welcome to the Saturday webinar series. Uh, Ideas to bring in insights and knowledge to you people. Day in and day out, we keep on meeting and interacting with multiple kind of stakeholders, business owners, shareholders, promoter owners, professionals at leadership level. So, ideas to help you to get some insights on for which can be useful and meaningful for professionals. And as you all know, high potential career planning as a vertical, we are building with to add value to professionals with the focus, professionals as a focus. Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do. Welcome once again, and let us start with today's topic, which is very close, right? Each individual, this topic is very, very close. Compensation, salary is one of the most critical things everyone is concerned about, and all of us work for a commercial objective, right? And uh, money is important, while happiness is important, and commercial means are important for us to achieve what we want to achieve in life. And uh, right from early days in human race evolution, there has been importance given to money and the commercial aspect. What is in it for me? Always, right? So that's important and critical. And so today we are going to talk about commercial aspect, salary, wealth creation. Let us see. So what the structure we'll follow is I'll take you through presentation. If you people in between also are having questions, I'm happy to take questions. As idea is to try and finish the discussion 15 minutes before, which is like 11:45. Yeah, 11:40, and last 20 minutes we can have a question. But in between also, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions. Not an issue. Yeah. So if you look at the way things have evolved, earlier in early part of evolution, it was barter system. People were offering services, and there was exchange of goods against it. If somebody is having something excess, and he's taking some other service from some other party, and then there was exchange of goods, and that in early part, followed by then there was evolution, and then there was currency which came into place, and because not necessarily having goods to exchange in barter system, and currency evolved as a better system wherein there's a denomination which is used by people to buy services, yeah, to exchange for the services, yeah, exchange of goods, what you're doing, what you're requiring, yeah, what different individuals are looking at. I think currency also came into existence alongside with different rulers and different kings across different parts of the globe. In fact, I think initially when it started with gold, and precious metals were exchanged, followed by then currency. Post and alongside with rulers and kings, and there was also manufacturing which started getting into shape. Earlier days, it was basic needs of food, shelter around that. But as the race evolved, and manufacturing also came into place, and there were factories which were set up, and commercial entities were then set up, wherein started working for exchange of remuneration which has to be paid for people. In prior to that, during the days of kings and rulers, it was people were taken care of by giving basic ration at a junior level, and people at management, yeah, so to say, the earlier hierarchy during king's time, subedas and princes and different princely states. So there was also a hierarchy at that point of time, and but different level of people were paid in a different manner. With evolution of manufacturing and formal governments and structures coming in place, then also obviously currencies also evolved, and then there was a proper exchange of currency for a work an individual is doing, and so then it was not only physical work, but the mental capability and the value add people can do, because uh, can do a different value add versus a subedar can do a different value add because of his leadership skills. Similarly, a worker on a shop floor, yeah, a contract labor can do a different value add. A factory head, yeah, supervisor, yeah, manufacturing supply chain head, or a functional head, or a CEO. The value add happens level at different levels, and hence then there's a remuneration which is different at different levels, right? And with more industrialization and more entrepreneurship coming in place, obviously it has also evolved in the sense, like for example, with startup economy, uh, the kind of ESOP structure uh, has come into play. Yeah, young entrepreneurs taking funds from PEs, yeah, and then they're sharing equity. So people build businesses. A lot of entrepreneurs, like for example, Flipkart founders, while they build a huge business, but end of the day, when they exited, they were having 5-6% of the equity only. But that 5-6% also was worth more than a billion. So along with installation, then there's a evolution of entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship also has evolved in different ways. Earlier, entrepreneurship was only people who are having their own capital, and now since the access to capital has gone up substantially, and even a young graduate from a college can have access to capital if he's having a good idea, he ends up starting a business and having an equity in that business, which is the current state of how evolution and wealth creation and salary structures have evolved. Right? We can go to the next slide, Rishi. Now, if you look at the current salary structure, typically salary structure differ in different sectors. I mean, IT, the structures are different, range of packages different. For a junior level, at the same level, even if you look at the junior most level, each sector salary range will vary. For example, in a call center, it will be different. Or in FMCG, it will be different. In IT, at a entry level, it will be different. Services, manufacturing. So different sectors at different levels will have different salary structures. Now, the salary structures also get defined depending on the risk the business has and depending on the value the person is doing in that at that level. Like for example, when it's a startup of few people, even the junior most get a fairly decent salary. But as the organization evolves and as the manpower increases, then the gap between the junior most person salary level and the higher most in the hierarchy keeps on widening as the organization grows and as the organization takes a larger shape. Similarly, government-controlled organization, the shareholding pattern of the commercial entity also determines the compensation structure. For example, in Amul is a cooperative structure. And while recently in cooperative structure, salaries are coming close to the corporate FMCG structure, but Amul being one of the largest FMCG company, but the salary is paid to the professionals who are almost 30-40% of what they are paid in equally good, say, other organizations. So the equity structure of the organization, the shareholders, owners of the organization, influence the salary structures immensely because that they are the owners of the business and they define how it should be, right? So the governance structure, the company structure, article of the company, like for example, cooperative. The basic objective of cooperative is to help farmers, and that's the principle. Now, with that principle, obviously, they can't pay professionals to a certain level. Similarly, other commercial entities, profit is the motive, and when the profit is the motive, then the compensation structure changes. Now, if you look at within MNCs and within Indian organizations, like in MNCs, the salary structure will be different. Within Indian organizations, it will be different, and within Indian promoter-led organizations, it will be different. So, the shareholders typically drive the salary structure in multinational companies, and most of the times it's board who is governing, and boards will have remuneration committees, and boards typically
ये
define.
एटीएम से चालू रहेगा क्या? अपन घर पे पहुंचेंगे 11 बजे, उसके बाद
Lina, yeah, thanks, Lina. Yeah, so shareholders, business owners, and the way the organization is structured at the ownership level defines the salary structure. It also gets defined by the life stage of the organization. Yeah, so as I said, they differ sector wise, they differ change. Yeah, they are not same depending on the life stage of the organization and also philosophy of the business owners. These are the things which impact the salary structure. Again, the salary range, as I said, in different sectors is different because the skill set required in different sectors is different, capability required in different sectors is different. And again, the junior most level and the topmost level. For example, in a call center, the gap between salary of the person who's calling versus a CEO. Similarly, in FMCG, a frontline salesperson versus a CEO. Frontline salesperson in FMCG might draw, say, 5 salary. Yeah, 5 to 10 lakh kind of a salary if it is in 1,000-2,000 crore FMCG company. At the same time, CEO of a 1,000-2,000 crore company, the salary can range from anywhere from 4 to 10-12 crores also, depending again on the shareholding pattern of the company. Now, 5 to 10 lakhs, assuming if you assume the median is 7.5 lakhs, and assuming CEO salary median is say 6 crores, you can imagine the gap between a junior person and the topmost person. Now, it's almost like 1,000 times gap, right? So, right, 100 times, sorry, not 1,000 times. If somebody at a junior most level is 7 lakhs and the CEO is 7 crores, then it's 100 times gap. Now, that is an FMCG. IT, it might be different. If you look at, say, for example, Satya Nadella, yeah, these kind of people, salary of a Google at a junior most level in Google versus a salary of a tech CEO. Tech CEO salaries of large companies are like $100 million or more than $100 million. The gap there might be 1,000 times or 2,000 times also. So depending on the sector which you are, remuneration range changes. Also, the gap between the junior most person and the topmost person changes based on the sector which you are. Because if it's a very intellectually driven sector, the senior most person is likely to have much more higher salary than the junior most person. But if it's a capital intensive organization, then the gap between the junior most person and the senior most person might be lesser. Now, if you look at some of the sectors and net worth of the leaders, for example, in a cement sector, uh, hypothetically, there are at least 8-9 companies which are in India, which are more than $3-4 billion business, whether it is Shree Cement, yeah, Dalmia, yeah, Ultratech. Now, in this sector, when the turnover is say, ranging from $3 billion to $15 billion, remuneration of the CEOs will range from say 4-5 crores to 50 crores in cement as a sector. I'm taking cement as a sector more from a manufacturing side. Now, if you look at in FMCG, for a company which is a $2-3 billion versus a company, say for example, 1,000 crore to 10,000 crore FMCG company CEOs, there are some CEOs where their salaries are 25-30 crores, and that is the salary part, and the wealth creation and ESOPs can be much more than that. If you go to the tech sector, as I said, salaries of some of these tech CEOs, Satya Nadella kind of people, they go into a few $100 million, which is like 500-600 crore kind of money they make every year. So net worth of senior leaders in the industry gets also determined by the sector which they are in. And we see lot of leaders emerging in the new age sectors, yeah, where the individual capability makes a huge difference. Net worth of those people today having few hundred crores of net worth in some of the sectors is easily possible, and that we clearly see it happening. And there are enough and more examples uh, in that space. As we go along, I'll quote you some names also. We can go to the next slide. Now, if you look at the components, typically are salary, variable, and perks and ESOPs. First two, most of the organizations have perks. Not all organizations necessarily will have. It again will be determined by the sector and also the business owners. If the business owner shareholders begin sharing wealth, then at leadership level, ESOPs play a very important role. By giving ESOPs, shareholders business actually making the individual party to the growth of the organization, because individual is making an impact to the top line and bottom line of the business. And if there's a ESOP given to the top 10, 100, 200 people, then they are invested in the business, their skin in the game is there. And there are enough and more examples in sectors, different sectors, wherein earning through ESOPs is 15-20 times more than what their annual salary is. Now, there are organizations which are established organizations, like in FMCG, for example, there are CEOs, they'll have ESOPs. Yeah, tech organizations, listed tech organizations like Infosys, yeah, Tech Mahindra, these kind of organizations also have ESOPs. Similarly, the startup led organizations also give ESOPs. Now, startups PE-led ESOPs actually good number of times don't result into wealth creation. A very small percentage of people in startup tech-led organizations are able to encash ESOPs and get value out of ESOPs. You must have several times startups ESOP is as good as a toilet paper. I mean, so organizations, their startups attract good talent by giving ESOPs. Objective of giving aggressive ESOPs is, and we see many senior level professionals at CXO, CEO levels, when the tech-led startups are hiring people, they expect people to take salary cut and join. For example, if somebody's salary is 2 crores, they'll say we'll give you 1 crore salary, but we'll give you 1% equity. And that 1% equity, since you are coming at a CXO CEO level, you have to play a role to get the business model right and scale up the business. In 5 years, if you scale the business, that 1% equity can give you 100 crores. While you have taken salary cut of 5 crores in 5 years, but if you really role in building the business and organization, then the gain which you can have is 20 times of loss which you have incurred. That is how startups think. Whereas traditional organizations, they also give ESOPs, but that ESOPs are not in percentage. And while a CEO of a say 2,000 crore company has grown the business from 1,000 crores to 5,000 crores in 5 years, he will get maybe 35, 40 crores through ESOPs. That again also depends on the kind of discussions he is able to have with the shareholders. Most of the times, what we have seen is professionals, the way they have discussions with the shareholders, their business owners, there's a lot of room for them discussions with a very different perspective. Because ultimately, after a business coming to a certain level, professional teams make business. Equally, if they are not able to perform, organizations and shareholders today are losing patience. You would see at a CXO level, CEO level, like if the person is not doing well, is at best 12, 18 months, right? Even the HUL global CEO was there in the system only for 18 months, right? The patience of shareholders, if the individuals are not able to add value, is increasing. They are increasingly become impatient. And if the professionals who are really adding value to the business are shareholders treating them with an appropriate approach and giving them enough credit by allowing them to take some of the profits, yeah, value creation, I believe there's a huge opportunity for professionals to get better deals. And hence this topic we are discussing today as to how should professional really go about getting their due in the process while they are building businesses and contributing to the organizations.
Sandeep, I just wanted to pitch in here and talk about something which is kind of undervalued, which are the perks. And I find that, we kind of look at perks as something which is additional, but we don't bring it into our equation of thinking what we're getting from an organization. And it's usually, especially in career change situations, some of the perks that a person gets from the company, they don't value there. But when they reach the other company and find that these are not there, then they suddenly realize, oh, this much was, this is costing me a whole lot more money. So, for example, a simple thing like, insurance cover or medical reimbursement or even leaves. Like, many companies have unlimited medical leave. A company which does not have it, you find that, you're not kind of looking at it. Also, things like retirals, opportunity to be able to invest in NPS if the organization is helping you with this. What kind of retirement systems are they making? If I look at a stark contrast, lots of times if you're working in government sector, we say that they're underpaid, but their perks actually make it worth their while. And they have pension and stuff like that. That really helps to bridge over the gap between the two kinds of things. So looking at evaluating it, I also think some of the perks are like, if you're working in a particular city, is that a perk to you? Because it may not be a defined perk, but if you want to be there, your family is there, is that a perk? Your commute, if you have a very short commute, if you live in Ghatkopar and you go to Vikhroli in Godrej, that is a perk, right? It cannot be listed as one in an offer letter, but it is definitely a perk. When we're looking at these things, we must evaluate the impact of the perks, because that's a consideration that one must give. Because I've seen a lot of people getting immediately, unhappy and disillusioned, thinking, oh, I used to get this, I never knew this. Wahan to hota tha, yahan nahi hota hai, because we don't think about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you completely. I think that's a very, very important and valid point. At the same time, see, I'll tell you, one is the perk part. Also, while you might get higher salary, a double salary, a 3x salary, but idea is not only to join an organization, but it is important to go there and last long. And some people are comfortable working in a certain kind of a culture. So when I'm making a shift, while I'm here, we are largely talking about when I think when you are in an organization, you are contributing. When you are moving from one organization to another organization, how should you negotiate? How should you really look at adding value and creating wealth for yourself? Well, that is the topic today which we are discussing. As in terms of cultural fitment, like MNCs, the way they look at Indian companies, that they will look at tech organizations, startups, that they will look at, and each organization in a large organization, you work-life balance is very good. You might join a startup that there's equity, but work-life balance most of the time because you have to get the business right and you have to work like entrepreneur and you have to work like 24/7. And not necessarily all organizations have that, but one has to be cognizant and aware about when he's looking at all those things, he has to look at holistically and not only look at one aspect of it. And while he's either moving from one organization to other organization, within organization he's wanting to position himself differently. One has to take a 360-degree view completely. Like for example, if you are working in an organization and you have proven yourself in 2 years, and now you're wanting to negotiate with shareholders, saying that I have proved myself, can I actually negotiate? But then you also have to reflect and introspect 360-degree that if I want it in a certain way, am I actually presenting myself? Will the shareholders look at it from that angle? You have to also position yourself when you're going to ask something to the business owners. It is important that business owners appreciate where you're coming from and agree. They have to look at it from that lens. So I think the holistic approach is very important when you're moving from one place to other place. Within the organization you want to position. Ask. Request. Demand for a better proposal for yourself. We can go to the next slide. So this we largely covered principles of salary at leadership level, and it changes from sector to sector. If it's capital, then the salary structures are different. They are not as liberal because money plays a very important role. Capital plays a very important role. A business competitive, it's a very, very competitive environment. To get success is difficult. And hence, if you look at FMCG, salaries are higher than a purely manufacturing sector. It is a commodity-based business. So if the competitiveness of the business is higher, there are multiple people in the sector, then you require people who can think through and implement and execute and achieve business objectives, who are much smarter, much intelligent, and that's the assumption. And based on the business competitiveness, again, the salary structures change. Similarly, PSU will have a different approach because the organization is not government will have a different approach. As Manisha there said, with PSUs and government, while the salaries are low, but the kind of perks which they give because of the infrastructure they have are, one has to really look into that and take a complete view. Cooperatives, as I mentioned, they have a different structure. NGOs will have a different approach. So principles of salary differ based on the sector which you are, based on the business competitiveness, based on the kind of organization. Now, as professionals, you have to understand what is your purpose in life. What is important for people to understand here at leadership level is what is their purpose in life. And if that purpose in life can define your clarity as to which sector you can go. For example, somebody wants to work in an impact sector. For him, impact plays an important role. Then he might work with an NGO. But then at the same time, he has to then, it's a trade-off between my passion, my purpose in life versus what I as a remuneration. Similarly, if somebody is wanting a higher salary, then he has to understand if I'm going to work in a competitive sector, then the amount of time, effort which will require will be different. And work-life balance might tilt. If I have to join a startup, if I have to get equity, then I can't expect work-life balance there. So based on the sector, the salary structure will vary.
Your attention, please.
So based on the structure will vary. Based on the sector, ESOPs, wealth creation will vary. But for an individual, what is important is what is his purpose in life and which sector he will fit in. And when he's defining those sectors which is going to fit in, he then also has to understand if I'm wanting to get into a certain sector, then that sector will offer me certain kind of remuneration, wealth creation, whatever it is, in exchange of services which I'm offering. I think so. So for leadership level, people understand that is very, very important, critical. And people at leadership level make conscious choices, right? You see today people, IAS officer earlier days never used to leave government and corporates. But in last 8-10 years, you will see a lot of right IAS officers are moving out of government jobs and getting into corporate. There are people who start with a particular sector, but after a point, they say, "No, this sector, I'm done now, I'm going to this sector," right? People make choices. When you're making choices, you have to be aware and conscious about why you're making these choices, and you have to be very clear about it. Yeah, Puchi, we can put the next. Go to the previous slide. We're on fifth slide. Yeah. Now, as I said, remuneration strategy, salary structure strategy is largely entirely driven by the owners of the business. While the sector also will determine the flexibility around that, but shareholders' thought process impacts the entire philosophy. Shareholders, in some cases, are promoters. They hold 60-70% of the equity. So their say matters more. In some cases, the organization is no more owned by a particular family. It's not one family is not owning largest share. For example, best example in Indian case is ITC. For example, ITC is an organization which is there's no single promoter. There are FIIs. So it's an Indian company, but not owned by promoters, but owned by different stakeholders, which are FIIs, government, and there's an external partner also. Now, in the organization, also the remuneration philosophy is governed by shareholders, because each of the stakeholder will have their representatives in the board, and board remuneration committee then drives the philosophy. In case of one family holding, like for example, Pidilite, Dabur, Hima, these kind of companies, one family, a set of people is holding majority share, so their views matter more. Like Asian Paints, these kind of companies, majority shareholders drive the philosophy along with the board. What I have also seen is, while these companies have boards, these companies different, are really boards impacting the way they should, whether it is in India or globally. Like in HUL, Unilever CEO was asked to go, if you read more about it, in 18 months, because there were a couple of board members who were against him while he was onboarded. So today, how boards are impacting the remuneration structure and how they are acting, that is again another subject. But for a professional, he has to understand his worth, and whatever the board philosophy, whatever the philosophy of shareholders, he has to be focused on how can I get a better deal. While philosophy will be driven by shareholders, how can I get a better deal? And here the CEO has to not only think for himself, but because only one individual cannot make as much impact. He has to think of, in this organization, who are the key stakeholders. If we have to have ESOP creation, is it top 20 people? Is it 100 people? And can he, as people, as a leader where they are running the business, present to the board and get a better deal for himself and also the key people in the organization? I think that approach has to be pervasive and not demanding. So I think for leaders, it's important that they get fair deal for the services which they are offering. I personally believe the way structure, the history, if you look at in last 2-3 decades and last 10 years, particularly the private equity is coming, businesses are built by professionals, but most of the money is built by, the P's and VCs are making money. The amount of stress and effort they put on the professionals, especially when they are joining private equity or VC funded organizations, are they really getting their due? They have put money, but business is largely built by teams. And the kind of money professionals make versus the kind of money the P's and VCs make, there's a huge gap. And there is where I feel with these kind of organizations, professionals can have negotiations and discussions. Not only that, even in a larger organization, it might be Indian organization, it might be listed, unlisted. Because what I strongly believe is shareholders, business owners also started understanding who's adding value. And if there's a team which is adding value, if there are individuals which are adding value, then I think if they're able to put it in the right perspective, there's a very good chance that the business leader, CEO will be able to get better deals. It is important that they put it across in a right perspective. And for a leader, it is critical as times are changing, because attracting talent at middle management, junior level, if best quality talent has to be attracted and retained, which is also going to be very, very critical for the business, leaders will have to start thinking as to how they get a better share of value added to the business. So while shareholders will drive the philosophy, I think leaders will have to now start influencing that. And it's high time leaders start influencing that. As I go ahead, I'll give you a few examples of how people have created wealth. I'll also give you a few examples how leaders have negotiated this kind of thing with the shareholders. As of now, anybody having any question?
Sandeep, can I make a point? Manish here.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
See, you also gave out an example of Amul and ITC and across varying levels of remuneration for the same role. Isn't this about what the companies put a value on the role and remuneration is an output? And what we see is a certain promoter-driven company versus an MNC versus an Indian legacy company. For the you see varying levels of remuneration, including variable and fixed. So if somebody decides to say that this is the price that I'm willing to pay for this role, will a negotiation or a discussion lead to a different output?
So yeah, so that this is one lens, absolutely, Manish, and this is the whole topic which we're today is that this is a traditional lens which has been used, right? Business owners, shareholders decide what is the cost of this role, right? That is how it has. But once a leader is proving his credentials, then and he's making impact on the business. Now, then he will be in a good position, because ultimately today there are good leaders who are making huge impact on the business, and the same organization, when they are hiring bad leaders, they've also seen as to what impact it can have on a business. That realization also has started sinking in. Now, to address your question on sectors, so we are making a sectoral choice. For example, in cooperative, you can't expect a certain kind of salary, so you have to be aware about that. But if it is a listed company, if it's a promoter-led organization where the one family is holding majority stake, and though that family can take a decision, then that is where you can definitely have a discussion. While the traditional way has been for roles, this is the remuneration. For example, we have been helping, we work with a lot of emerging organizations. And so this is with the traditional organizations, large organizations, will they be open? Big question mark. But I personally feel some of them will be open. But there are young organizations today happening 100, 200 crores, 300 crores, doing a business in a small geography. And there are promoters who are involved. And we are helping organizations to get leaders saying that if today your business is 100 crores or 200 crores, and your valuation is 300 crores or 400 crores, it's a profitable business. And their ambition is to grow 5x or 10x. Then there are promoters, shareholders of these organizations who are saying we are happy to share 5-10% of value creation to the top 10-20 people. So smaller organizations are able because their ambition and aspiration to grow is higher, and they believe that good leaders will make impact. And versus larger organizations, they might not be open because they believe that the organization now has reached a stage and individuals cannot make that much impact. So, but then depending on the quality of a leader and depending on the impact the leader can think, I personally believe even the larger organizations, mid-sized organizations will now be open. It is also up to how professional the promoters and shareholders, right? Yeah,
Sure.
just to, yeah.
Thank you.
Go to the next slide. So earlier, capital was only with few families. Yeah. I think today, the way we are evolved, accessibility to capital is like not a problem. Banks are willing to finance. Even, not necessarily you have to go to PVC. At a idea stage, there are a lot of PEs and VCs willing to fund. And if you have a balance sheet of 5 crores, you can go to the banks and banks are more than happy to fund you. If your value and compliance is on the right side. So access to capital has gone up substantially. So clearly the differentiator is people, and people who bring certain kind of leadership and kind of execution capabilities are adding value to the business. So when the access to capital has increased, improved, then are professionals getting their due? With PE and VC, for example, the success ratio might be 10% only. But even in this 10% organizations where the individuals have succeeded, like as I told you, Flipkart, the founders, they came from a very humble background, more than $1 billion, right? And they were having a very good idea. They executed that idea and have got $1 billion. At the same time, there were CEOs from rest of the colleges, and they were, I mean, at times they were saying, I mean, this guy, young boys are making so much money. So one is to be feeling left out of with that, but the other way is to look at saying, how do I look at me as an organization, the sector which I am in, and how do I get a better fair deal for myself? I think with access to capital, professionals, this is my view, they are making huge impact on the business, and truly they are making. So wherever leaders are making truly impact in whichever role you are, I think you can always go back and have discussions. Good number of times either assume that this is how it is, either they don't think on these lines, yeah, they try once, twice, and they give up. I think people who are trying, when they're trying to go back and have discussions, the approach, when they're going to talk to the business owners and decision makers, as I said, you, in the first place, you'll have to think of, am I really behaving like a business owner, and is the impact happening on because of me? So first you have to prove your credentials that promoters don't have any doubt that you are making the difference and the team is making difference. Once that conviction is there in the shareholders' mind, they believe and they accept that, then they will be open. Now, while they will be open, one has to, again, the discussion approach has to be persuasive and not argumentative, and this persuasion will have to be continuous. And while you are persuading, you focus on increasing the business and growing the business cannot be taken away of. I'll just give you an example. I'll tell you, we have this program which is high potential career planning. And one of the bright candidates, very bright, and she had gone through multiple challenges, multiple fast changes. And then we helped her to transition in a good company, but it is a promoter-led company. And in earlier, she has worked in MNCs, and there was a coverage of insurance for parents also. So she, I mean, after joining, also she was trying to negotiate, she couldn't negotiate that. But after joining, she realized that this is a big thing. Now, she's working in a promoter organization. She's one of the brightest person in the organization. Promoter's daughter is also from a Premier B school. And so what I was telling her, hey, you have joined a place, if you really prove your worth, this organization will consider all your interests. First, focus on proving your worth with the organization. And in this organization, if you worth in the next 2-3 years, you will have opportunity to really grow into CEO role. If you have taken the organization from X to 3X, in the process of you growing from a number 2 to a number 1 level, the kind of conviction and commitment the promoters will have in you will be at a very different level. If you really, after 3-4 years, prove yourself and take the organization from current 800-900 crores to 2,000 crores, then you build a vision with the promoter and saying, we have now reached 2,000 crores. Can we take it to 10,000 crores? If you take that approach, promoters will be happy to share 1% of the value. So the professionals who have capability will have to think in a certain way. They'll have to display and demonstrate their credibility and capacity to take the business forward. If they are demonstrating that capacity, then promoters will be open. Imagine you thinking you have joined at a 60 lakh salary and you're not taking care of, and that is acting on your mind, and that is going to impact your performance. Versus you prove yourself, and in 3 years, your 60 lakh salary goes to 2 crores. And if after going to 2 crores, you become a CEO MD, and then say, let us now take this organization 2,000 to 10,000 crores. Because those promoters receptive to ideas. So joining right promoters, right business owners. His daughter is working with this person who has joined. If you have got that opportunity, how do you utilize that opportunity to look at it from a different angle? Is what the professional will have to be thinking of. Most of the time, professionals think in a very, very myopic way. They think that is, and they are not able to think beyond. Professionals, if they have to get this aspect of wealth creation, they have to think like shareholders. They have to own businesses, and they have to truly add and grow the businesses. And those opportunities in country like India, when we are a 4 trillion economy and want to become 10 trillion economy, there are so many umpteen opportunities. As I told, there are enough and more organizations that are 100 crore and want to become 500 crore and want to become 1,000 crores. At the same large organizations also. So this kind of opportunities will be more in a smaller organization, less in a larger organization. But professionals have to start thinking in those lines. Start looking at those aspects and principles. Now, for professionals, the risk is there. For example, in MNC and a large establishment, risk is less. But hence the risk is less, the rewards also will be less. In a small organization, risk might, on the face of it, risk might be high. But if the professional believes in himself and understands the organization, then I mean it will vary from individual to individual. Then purely startup organization is high. So depending on the tenacity and flexibility and adaptability of the individual, he has to assess and take that approach. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Actually, can I request all of you to just stop screen sharing, Khushi, and can we have all of them putting their cameras and we can take a snap? I would request all of you to really put on your cameras. It will take a snap, and we can put this on our social media, digital media, wherever we want. Yeah, can I? As far as possible, if you can put on your camera, that will be good. Once you have taken snap, then screen sharing once again. So these videos and activities we are doing, we are also putting on social media just to see to it that more and more people are able to participate in such webinars. And if you see value in what we are talking about, we would request if you can give your approval to use some of this in social media. Yeah, so coming back now, at leadership level, let us understand how the role is dramatically changing. Today, technology is bringing so much disruption around. Marketing teams in FMCG earlier were for a 500 crore company, it will be 20 people team. For a 1,000 crore company, 40 people. So depending on the size of the company, marketing teams are varying. Today, good number of progressive businesses saying, can we reduce our marketing teams? Can we reduce our finance and HR teams? Right now, the thinking at a surface level, organizations have already started thinking and stopped hiring. They're saying, let us take the stock of the situation. Because one person today, I don't know how many of you have started using technology for your own productivity and efficiency. And technology can increase productivity of an individual at least 10 times, minimum 10 times. So I would urge all of you to take some courses which are on technology, with GPT, AI, digital. Please take some of the courses and have technology as your key agenda to imbibe in the next 12 months. It is going to be difficult for sure, but if you, I mean, like I have pledged myself saying I will at least 90 minutes every day to learn technology. Because if you don't learn, then you don't understand how fast your efficiency can go up. I can do 10 times more the tasks which I can do with technology. Please take those courses. And once a leader understands how technology can change himself, then obviously he can utilize it in his own organization. So as leaders, it's important that we adopt technology, embrace technology. Technology, the entire landscape is changing. And once you start embarrassing technology, you will understand how the landscape is changing. Systems are changing, family structures are changing, importance given to the job is changing. Today's youngsters, the moment they are getting into job world, the way they are looking at job versus earlier generations were looking at. Demographic advantages, for example, India as a country, we were having demographic advantage. We were saying we are a young company. But the way family structures are changing, we will be soon becoming an aging economy. So technology is disrupting across multiple aspects, because earlier on mobile, it was only TV. Today, we don't, 24/7 we carry mobile with us. If there's no internet, it is like almost there's no oxygen, right? Interactions within family are changing. So it is only going to, disruptions are only going to increase. Organizations which are going to be nimble only will last. So leaders, if they embrace technology, they will understand how technology is impacting. They will build structures which are very, very nimble, which they can change. It is going to be, as we grow, as we move forward in coming years, people and leaders with mindset of building aeroplane while we are flying are the ones who can stay nimble. People who are going to having mindset and approach of maintenance, marginal improvements, they will find it extremely difficult for an organization to really stay relevant. Sanjeev is having something to say. Sanjeev, please go ahead.
No, just trying to say that, it was always there, right? This particular thing of the 6 things that you have in terms of being the changing role of leadership. It's not today's world. Yeah, today we have ChatGPT-4 and all those things, but linking technology disruptions to right up to entrepreneurship was always there. It changed. Earlier it was to SAP, and then it evolved to ECC6, enterprise resourcing, and then linking to your decision making faster, right? So it was always there, these points. Yeah, it has now become more relevant. Nobody makes a PPT sitting for 1 hour right now, right? Decision making comes very faster. I don't think I am using any more Chrome also nowadays. In fact, it's all about, your ChatGPT-4 is Gemini, just to give an example, right? So all this nimbleness has to be there. We call it agility. And it's, and I think it was an old school word, which was always relevant 20 years back also, when you passed out from the schools, and even now. Just a thought.
No, absolutely, Sanjeev. So I agree with you completely. Though the disruption, which is the speed at which it's changing, that is what people will have to be aware about. For example, Stone Age, wheel, to industrialization, to colonization, to governments, to democracy, to world war, to internet, and then ChatGPT. The disruptions, the speed at which disruptions are going to happen, the speed is only increasing every day, and hence this becomes much more relevant. As you rightly said, it's ChatGPT-4, day after something else might come. So the speed at which the change is happening, one has to be aware and sensitive about, and this will become more and more relevant. When the speed and change is happening at a slightly lower pace, people could still afford to be slightly slow. As the change is getting accelerated and momentum is catching up, I think this will become more and more important. But absolutely agree with you. Yeah. Next slide.
Okay.
Now I'll just give you some of the wealth creation examples. Some from FMCG, some from, like for example, salary of Mr. Shekhar, who is running Tata Group, is in public domain. If you just Google, you'll find out. Somewhere around 100 crores, but you can find out for yourself what is his salary, right? Now, if you look at IT tech sector, as I told, some of the people actually make 100 million, more than 100 million every year. There are a good number of CEOs of IT tech sector which make good amount of money. Even some of the CEOs of Indian tech organizations make $15-20 million every year. So there was a gentleman, Dr. Santrupt, who worked very closely with a very traditional group, which is Aditya Birla Group. And at that point of time, when he joined Aditya Birla Group, Sukumaram Birla, chairman, he was just taking over reins, and he played a very important role in transitioning the group. And if you just Google around his network, it is available, because he was contesting for a member of parliament, Orissa, and his net worth is in excess of 600 crores. So now, but the kind of impact he did for the group, Aditya Birla Group HR practices, I have seen because I interact with so many people, and the kind of practices they have are up there. So if an individual has made such a big impact in the way the organization and the group has been running, the kind of wealth creation he could create for himself. Then from FMCG, if you look at, again, do Google around Sunil, wherein he helped Dabur to transition. Dabur was a promoter-led organization till 94, 95, and different family members. One of them was handling purchase, one of them was handling procurement, and there were 8, 9 of them were involved. And Mr. P.D. Narang and Mr. Duggal played a very important role in transitioning this organization the way it is today. And again, if you Google around, their net worth is somewhere around 600-700 crores each. And they were working professionals, right? So I think there are examples where people have created impact on businesses. And for professionals, these opportunities can be manifold in coming. How professionals look at those opportunities in making impact on the business, working with shareholders, that mindset and that approach can help people to be in a very different league. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. So wealth, I think before that. I think if professionals get as to what impact I can create when even if I have at a middle management, CXO level, based on the impact create, obviously traditionally it has been always based on performance and based on the impact which you're making, you grow in life, in career and hierarchy. So how can people as a work-life balance, that is another aspect which people are aware about and getting more and more sensitive about. But without compromising on the personal aspect, how can individuals and good, capable guys can think of making impact on the business and then growing with the organization? And once you reach the top, based on impact, how can I look at larger wealth creation while I focus on making the cake larger and making the cake bigger? And let me tell you, as we go ahead, importance of intelligence versus earlier days versus coming years, it is going to reduce. What is going to be more important is life skills, people skills, humility, sympathy, ability to relate with people, ability to foresee, being proactive. So the skill set with the change in environment also is changing, but the core principles will still remain same. Taking ownership and accountability. These aspects will play a big role because knowledge is now very, very democratic. I mean, you as a leader, if you don't know anything, if you want to just get more insights about it, today you can do it. In earlier days, if you're not worked in that sector, I mean, it would have been very difficult for you to get knowledge about some other sector. So knowledge has become very, very intelligence, importance of intelligence has hence it is becoming less and less important. IQ, intelligence. Earlier days, people who were very good at numbers and analytics were having a different value. Today, technology can do analysis and crack numbers, slice and dice in ways. So in this kind of environment, how professionals are going to build their credibility, how they are going to build trust, they will help the organization to build vision and mission. In some of the emerging organizations, I'm telling you, we are helping professionals to join organizations which are at a very small stage where they actually end up mentoring promoters also. There's a 170 crore organization which is into beverages, and there we could get a senior leader as a CEO to join, and as a leader, his maturity level, he's working with promoter him, mentor and evolve him also. While his earlier generations have capital to support the business, but this leader is helping even the shareholder to evolve. So how does a leader looks at it from a multiple angle and help them to create a vision and mission for the business and help the organization to change the orbit alongside with the owners like Mr. Duggal? When he took over the reins, the business was 700 crores. It was typically promoter-led organization. But in 22 years, he was able to professionalize the organization entirely. He was able to grow the business from 700 crores to 8,000 crores, and hence the value creation which he was able to get. So I think these opportunities will be there because we are going to go at a fast rate. There can be multiple more opportunities. Identifying those opportunities, understanding what it will take for you and you as a leader to convert that opportunity into wealth creation for yourself is also that deep understanding, and developing that deep understanding and evolving in that line as a leader is going to be crucial as we go along. We can go to the next slide. Tenth slide. I'll give you another example of a business which is recently emerged in the last 5-6 years. I'm sure most of you must have heard of Belgian waffles. Now, this company was started by a young person by name Shreya Agarwal. He comes from a business family. That business family is in some other business. Shreya, who was a founder of Belgian waffles, went to Carnegie Mellon, studied there. Immediately after graduation, he came to India. And when he came to India, he started this Belgian waffles as a company. This concept, he saw this concept somewhere else. He then started building this concept. In first 4 or 5 years, he could bring it to around 22 stores. So he then, when he got to 22 stores and when he got the model right, then at that point of time, he thought of hiring a CEO. And the gentleman who joined him was at that point of time at a salary of 1.5 crore, but he joined at a salary of 35 lakhs. Now, when he joined, so he almost took 20% of his salary. But when he joined and when the founder got him as a CEO, and at 22 stores, business was breaking even. It was not making profits. So this gentleman who came in as a CEO, he had a chartered accountant, then he has done ISB, and he was into investment banking. So he's worked on a business side and he's also worked on an investment side, investment banker. So he was given 15% equity because business at that time was very small. He took only 20% salary. It is as good as like while he has taken a salary of 35 lakhs, started investing 95 lakhs into the business. Today, after 8 years, now the business, they have almost 500 stores. Their top line is very solid. Their bottom line is almost 30% of the top line. And the business is valued at 1,600 crores. This is also in public domain because they were recently wanting. Now imagine a CEO who is having 15% equity in 7 years. The business is valued at 1,600 crores. And the gentleman who joined is reasonable. He's 44 now. So he joined when he was 37, 38. Now, while the shareholders decided to exit, he was trying to take a dipstick. Business is now valued at 1,600 crores. Now, last 2-3 years, they have decided that they will launch a product, consumer products, and they have been focusing on only on one city. And in FM's one city now, they are doing 20 lakhs per month. Then they are selling their products out, top 200 retail outlets. So now the CEO is saying, can we build a FMCG business of 400 crores and take this 500 stores to 2 stores? And the promoter is saying, while we have built this concept in India, can we take internationally? Because if McDonald's can come to India, KFC can come to India, why not a brand which has been established in India can go global? And they have now started assessing and analyzing different countries. If this business grows for a CEO, today the valuation is at 15%, 400 crore. If the business valuation goes up, then what happens to his wealth creation? So when I was discussing with the CEO, I was telling him, be clear in life, what do you want to do? Do you want to get restless and think of something else while you have created value? The plan is, even if you grow by 20% top line, and if this business grows to 1,000 crores, which he was very confident that in next 3 years, the business can go to 1,000 crores, then the valuation from 1,600 can go to 5,000 crores. Now his 15% stake at 5,000 crores is different versus 15% stake at 1,600 crores. So after establishing and creating an impact for professionals, it's also important to be patient and maximize his gains. So CEOs, one, they have to think the way they should. They have to work with right organizations where principles are aligned. A good number of times there are people, promoters start with certain things, but they don't value their commitment and they don't honor their commitment. So when individuals are getting into this kind of organizations, they have to be absolutely clear with what kind of organizations they're working. So when this CEO was getting hired for Belgian workers, they were talking for 4-5 months, and they must have had 80 meetings. So that kind of deep diving and understanding is required when one is picking up those kind of assignments. Just few rounds of discussions doesn't help each other. And then which kind of sector I can make these choices? If I've made a choice which is in a food product, which the category will grow, food as a category is likely to grow. Even if I am taking deep salary cut, chances of making it is very high, versus if I join a tech startup, the risk there will be high. So I think when individuals are going to make choices, these kind of choices, one will have to be using different frame lenses, and bringing in these insights with you people is with an objective. These kind of opportunities are possible. It is all based on how you people think and how do you approach opportunities like this. Our endeavor in high potential, when we want to build different programs, we are saying if there are people with a high potential, can we help them to reach out to these kind of opportunities? And if there are people who believe in themselves and who want to create impact, we want to identify such people, work with them for 1-2 years, and also work with them for next one to help them identify these kind of opportunities. So that's how we are wanting to create value for professionals and also organizations. We can go to the next slide. I think professionals, I have seen good professionals, typically people who can save money and invest money. Most of the time, they don't manage money there properly. Most of the time. Rarely, the way people manage their wealth is, I think there's lot of area. They work very hard, but the way they manage their money, I think there's a lot of area of improvement. One is to put in, say, whomsoever, maybe 5 who are managing their money today, how most of it they are putting in mutual funds. Yeah, some of those they have their portfolio. They wealth managers educate them. I personally believe there's definitely an opportunity to look beyond that. Today, if a professional is working in an organization and is amount of money, for him to put 5-10% of that in some possible opportunities which can give him tremendous upside, can they be thinking of becoming an angel investor? And they can definitely do this by aligning their own organizations. You should definitely not do anything without aligning your own organizations. Because as a leader, good leader, one of the key things you have to ensure that you enable people and you free your time. And as a leader, I personally believe you should have 50-60% of your time, which allows you to think beyond what are the current challenges in the organization, and more importantly, learn. And that learning not necessarily has to come from your own organization. Learning can come from other organizations. For example, as a leader, you are in a particular category and you see young entrepreneurs who are doing something in new category. You can think of guiding those young entrepreneurs, guiding that young organization. And at best, you have to devote 1 or 2 hours in a month, giving your perspective, giving your ideas, thoughts. When you are engaged with this organization for 6 months, 2 years, then you really get to understand the organization and culture of the organization and promoter owners also. They also get to understand you. In that 1-2 years, if you're getting confidence, you can think of, and if you're really added, your interactions have really added value to that business. Those business owners will be happy to 1-2% or 3% of that business. Because you have really made impact. And in 1-2 years, if you feel you have really made impact and if you really see huge opportunity there, then you can smoothly transition there as a business leader to grow the business further. Even if you don't transition, if you have a right organization where you have picked up 3% equity, the kind of value it can create for you is immense and humongous. Because youngsters, smaller organizations require a lot of knowledge and insights which you people have. So how can you people identify these opportunities? How can you align your own organizations in a transparent way? That is an opportunity. One is only being focused on your own organization, which is very much required. But when you're working with these kind of entrepreneurs and startups, you also learn a lot, and those learnings also can help the existing business which you are managing. So it's not only you are adding value to the organization, you also get a lot of insights, because when you are interacting with the other younger organizations, the kind of insights which you get are manifold versus the business which you are in. And how do you bring in those insights to your business, and how do you take your business insights to other businesses, and how can for yourself and the other business owners? I think it's those possibilities professionals need to start thinking. If they present it in the right perspective, here definitely, without any doubt, you have to align your existing organization. It should not be looked at in a very, very transparent way. Why you're doing, how can it help your business, how can it help you, and how can it help the other organizations? That all that has to be put on the table. Without doing that, definitely it is not advisable. One should not do it at all. But those possibilities are there, and one should start looking at exploring those possibilities. Can go to the next slide. And these opportunities are not necessarily only possible to middle management professionals, senior management professionals. It depends on how you're thinking. And see, today life expectancy has gone up tremendously, right? I mean, promoters are working till 75, 80, 85. Why not professionals? And professionals are getting retired at 60. And good number of times when you're getting retired at 60, because by that time, most of your financial engagements are done, kids are settled. I think professionals now need to think beyond 60. And if you are really wanting to think beyond 60, then you start 5-10 years before that. I see lot many professionals today at the age of 60 months, they retire, then they start looking at that they should not do anything. Actually, their health starts deteriorating. If you have been at a leadership level, if you have really impacted business, so much knowledge you have, wealth of knowledge, and you've been used to contributing and adding value. The moment if you are not in a job, emotional well-being starts getting impacted first. Because you are in a space wherein you have so much of wealth of knowledge and you're not able to contribute, you're not able to add value. So emotional well-being then leads to mental well-being, and then physical health also starts getting impacted. So for your own interest, it's important that if you should be active, you should continue to contribute and add value. But that thinking has to start few years before. And I think one of the things which I've also noticed is leaders, while they have knowledge, they're not able to go out there and reach out and connect to people and say, I can add value. They're not able to have those avenues. And then at a certain stage, the way you think, you yourself putting up there and saying that I can add value, that mindset most of the people don't have, and they're not able to do that. But I think that is where a role of our kind of organizations come, and how do we enable people to reach out to those kind of opportunities and connect them to those kind of opportunities. But these opportunities are really coming and are enough and more in the market. But then the professionals have to start building that mindset few years before the retirement, not time of retirement. And once you retire, then if you start working with small, young organizations which have potential and start working, you can continue to have that kind of commercial returns for you while you are having in a full-time job as well. And you can actually have an extended 10, 15, 20 years, depending on what you want to do in life. And I'm telling you, post 60, you can do that by putting 20% of the time. You don't have to be busy like the way you are in a full-time job. You will put 20% time, 80% of time is still with you, and you still can create that value for yourself by putting 20% of the time. But for that, you will have to evolve as a leader, you'll have to plan as a leader, you'll have to have that foresight and approach, keep on adding value and maximizing for yourself. So not that if you're working with new organizations, 2-3 organizations, you have to be more busy. I'm saying by spending 20% of time, because these young organizations don't require more than 2-3 hours, 4-5 hours of yours in a week at best. So you can be putting 10, 12 hours in a week, which is maybe 20-30% of your time, and still have enough and more time and create value for yourself and the organization also. So it's important for people to be aware and sensitive about all these areas as people are nearing that age and think in those. Yeah. Can we have the? I think this is the last slide. So I think so broadly what I feel is there are enough and more opportunities for professionals to really create wealth and to really look at their own salaries and compensation in a certain way. People have been looking at their own compensation and wealth creation possibilities in a certain way. We thought, based on our insights, based on our learnings, we'll share some perspectives and share some ideas, and then have discussion with all of you. Now it's open for discussion for all of us. Roshni, you can stop sharing screen. Kushi. Happy to hear.
No, thanks, Sandeep, for this really insightful, few slides. And I don't know, what is the view of others, but I find it extremely beneficial when I talk to people of different age groups. And that keeps my mind very fresh because, I give a classic example. My son just went to the university, and many a times he says that, I don't look into we tell them that why answer into a WhatsApp message. He said, I don't use WhatsApp because of you. I'm keeping it. They are into Discord, or Reddit fully, So that gives you a generational kind of thought process what the Gen Z is going. Right. And my daughter, who is into Zen Alpha, she has gone one step ahead. Elder brother is old, so that helps me in understanding that what is our life cycle and how we refresh ourselves and keep them right. So that's what I can say, that it keeps our mind fresh.
Absolutely. I think being in touch with younger generations to keep you agile and learn from them. And I think most important is, as you rightly said, within 5 years we are seeing generation gap, elder brother versus sister, and if you really understand where they're coming from, and if you keep on interacting with younger generations and be receptive to, I think most times we are defensive, we resist that, but if you become receptive as to where they're coming from, why they're coming from, the kind of mindset, if you build that mindset, that's the best thing to do.
I agree. Listening, and understanding and making it relevant for us. Yeah, I agree. Thanks.
Yeah, Sandeep, awesome discussion. Sandeep, you know that we are connected for more than 20 years.
Right.
But what happens is my son graduated 1 year back from engineering college and he joined a startup. He got other opportunity, but he wanted to join only in startup. He wanted to join only startup. He keep saying, I wanted to have something in my life by 30 because I don't want to have a success by 50 years. By the time whatever salary you are getting, I wanted to earn at least in another 2-3 years. If that happens only by so, you have so much of treasure of experience. Why don't you explore? So he keeps saying me for last 2 years. So my son and Sandeep, you are the motivation for me to get into this.
Absolutely. So I think every interaction with youngsters today is learning, and it is only about how how receptive we are. And if there's so much to learn from this younger generation, I'm telling you, we should respect them.
They have got that alpha energy, and they are using that energy and their agility to learn new things so fast. I'll share a couple of YouTube discussions of me having with some of the CEOs and some of this I'll share with you. So that's the kind of energy that they learn very fast. So I am also looking up to some young people to learn and pick up from them.
And for all of us, it is only mindset. I'm telling you, while our age might be whatever it is the way we have a perspective around it. So, we might be 70 or 60 or 55 or 56. We can still behave like a 16, 17-year-old, right? It is all up to how do we get best of the both sides. Yeah, Manish.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Please go ahead, Manish.
So, I'd like your thoughts and on this particular fact that we have all kinds of company, large, mid, legacy, startup everywhere. While some of these are established, reputation permeates across, so those are safer bets. But wealth creation in today's context, as we have also discussed and you emphasize, is largely coming in from the opportunities from the startup sector. And there, while they may be able to judge you to the extent that they would like to after 18 meetings or 20 or whatever, but still there is no guarantee for the candidate for this side, like us, that the agreements and the discussions would be honored. I'm sure you would have come across many. I have seen quite a few many people who thought that this is the retirement benefit and they are kind of at ease after delivering their success. They find themselves at crossroads. How would you advise and suggest that you tackle that the other side's commitments are also honored?
Absolutely. I think it's a very, very important and critical thing to do, because more often than not, shareholders don't honor the commitment. That's what historically I've seen, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
now I think, because of the startup ecosystem and PVC world ecosystem, there is availability and access to even legal advice. And when you are really adding value, it's up to a professional. How does a professional in a non-intrusive way and in an optimal way makes other party understand that whatever we are getting into relationship, it is properly documented and the document stands in the court of law, and the owners of the business who will continue to hold majority stake can't take the individual for the right.
Can I just add here?
Good.
So in general, I mean, not only, ESOPs and stock options and stuff like that, anything that we discuss during compensation negotiation, whether in the company or out, in a company which we are going to join, one rule is very clear that, it needs to be taken down in writing. Now, because the first thing is many people will say many things which you misinterpret or which are hopeful statements but not binding, and therefore you say, this will happen or you will get this or next year you will definitely go on this. They don't mean it wrongly. It is something that they do plan to do. It's just that 1 year down the line it doesn't become priority, it's not available, they're not so enthused at this point of time to do it. So many things come up, and it's not ill intent always. It's also just sometimes complete misunderstanding that, when you're talking to a new company, the one person tells you something, another differently. You choose the best version of it. And you convince yourself ki, I should make this change because so-and-so said this. By the time to fulfill that promise comes, so-and-so may not even be in the company. And so-and-so may not even remember what they said, So my basic thing is, the intention may not be wrong, but it upon you to get whatever it is that you're being spoken, to get it in writing on mail, at least get it on mail, because otherwise don't consider it. Anything which has been told to you as a general promise or an assurance will not happen. Let us go with that first assumption, because don't kind of, that is not going to work out. You need to have it in black and white. Then you go a step further and you say, okay, there are some things which need ESOPs, for example, until unless they've given you a grant right up front, by joining or maybe a month later that they're not giving it to you. ESOPs don't happen in, at one point in time. They usually tell you that we are giving you so much ESOPs in this year. When you join, you will be given 400,000 ESOP. Will be, work to that. No ESOP is done without paperwork. So you should have that. And they will tell you that we are giving this to you right now, but every year we have this plan. You may ask for the plan, they may share it with you. Then you can think that it will happen, but things change. So we just need to be pragmatic about what we have in front of us, how hardwired it is, and not go by promises, because promises are, you and I are professionals, and at one point of time, we think this is going to happen. We are trying to predict a future. That future does not come true, or my mind has changed. The value of the talent has, at the point of hiring, the value of, the need to hire the talent was really high. And by 1 year, 2 years down the line, maybe not so much. The organization has matured. There are more people. So just promises and assurances, disregard it completely. That's the only way to, sanely look at it. best if you have something like that and you've considered it, you can bring it up. You can say, okay, this is what we had spoken about, it is likely to happen. Have that conversation, maybe go forward, maybe it will not go forward. But you cannot rely upon things which have not been properly documented and written down. And, if there is a legal paper, because going back on the word is something, and I don't even believe that that's done deliberately. It just things change. So my advice would be very clearly put it down in writing. It should be in black and white. It should be committed to you on mail or through papers.
Thanks, Manisha. Thank you. But I completely agree with you that if it's not in writing, it's not enforceable. But to a larger extent, even things which are put in writing, if the intention is not right, companies can find a way to go around it. And there is very little that we can do. That was the basic question that I had. But I think you've between you and Sandeep, I think you put the whole spectrum, and therein lies the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, the nature of the company that you're hiring, I mean, it's a bigger disappointment that if you've joined an organization where the whole, culture, the management is such that they're likely to say, deliver something and then withdraw on that. Probably we've not made a great choice of an organization in the
No.
first place.
Manisha, I don't want to drag this discussion because
Sure.
this is not
Sure.
something that I want to emphasize. But I think for the larger benefit of all that I'm saying is that ESOPs today are used as the hook, which entices a lot many of us. And most of the time, if you look at the funnel from a startup to market event could be an IPO or a P sellout or whatever, the conversion ratio is a mere 5%. So the hook that is being sold across to potential candidates, they don't necessarily translate into wealth and value creation, and which is what Sandeep spoke about: advising, discretion,
Absolutely.
making sure that you work with the right kind of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
also the risk here is not only about not
correct.
delivering on
Absolutely.
promise.
Absolutely.
Your what this so if you're given ESOPs and let's say 5 years down the line you want to leave the company, it's still not a
You
listed
can't.
share.
Absolutely.
It cannot be
Absolutely.
transferred in your name and there is no valuation or a market to sell that. So
Correct.
then it's a complete loss. Also,
Correct.
if your organization is in a very mature state and let's say the markets aren't doing that well, the price of the stocks doesn't go up for there have been phases in for 5-10 years when the stocks have not got that kind of advantage. In fact, sometimes the stock prices have fallen, so then the ESOP is not worth taking. So ESOPs inherently have that risk of it should be fungible, as in there should be a market, and therefore the whole promise there is a promise of listing. Until unless there is a listing happening, there's no market for it. So there are those problems with ESOP is definitely a risk-driven strategy where you take that risk knowingly and you hope that it works in your favor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. So I just a couple of minutes left. This is Somya. The discussion and the topics that was brought about was great, and it's a very good point in for me right now. I'm based out in Singapore. I've worked in MNCs all around, and I know I'm considering the possibility of coming back to India, and and I can notice that having worked in a lot of MNCs, there's a lot of things that I can do with Indian companies or promoter-led companies, and multiple discussions, and these are some of the topics that I am right now dealing through. So this was really good, and I wanted to help the panel as well as the team, as well as the people who actually contributed to the discussion. Thanks a lot.
So we are just in time. If we can, if there's one more question. So great. I think thanks to you guys to join on Saturday. My request is just if you can share and spread word around. If you feel that this kind of discussions are relevant, talk to your friends, peers, share with them, and if more and more people can get benefited, it only helps the community. It helps us to build a community also. Thanks a lot once again for joining. Thanks. Idea is to add value to each one of you and create value for everyone and have a win-win situation.
Sandeep, I think there are 2 questions in the chat box.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I actually didn't look at.
Shivani has asked you, what are some tools other than ChatGPT that you would recommend?
So, Shivani, this discussion, this we can take separately. This question is not related to this topic. So, yeah, I mean, if you want, you can WhatsApp me and share your number, and we can definitely address, because now we are also short on time. But if there's any question which is related to today's topic, we'll be happy to answer.
Kalpana is asking a question which is incomplete at this point, but she's talking about negotiating a job offer.
Yeah,
Kalpana, you could speak out.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you all didn't wanted it. So I joined a little bit late, but I don't know if you covered it. If you covered it, you can just say you covered it earlier, and I'll try to see if I can get this answer from the recorded version. I've asked for that also. My apologies for joining in late. But see, when somebody is negotiating a higher amount and the company doesn't have that budget, assuming I'm a candidate, then how do the candidate insist for whatever, because he or she knows that the company has the prerogative of giving, but they're not giving for XYZ reason, whatever could be the thing. So how do you earn what you want to, and when do you say, okay, fine, this is it. I mean, if you give me this much, I take it or I leave it. If this negotiation is happening during the of the interview with the guy who's going to decide it.
What I would slightly longer journey, Kalpana, not the salary negotiation. You start off with, career goal. You also have to look at the context of where you are, why you're looking for this change. And you have to determine before you even start, searching for a job, what's your financial situation and what exactly do you need at this point of time. I mean, if you're very well settled and quite happy in this job, that's an opportunity to go, but you want financials of a certain level, whether it is because, you deserve that, or whether it is because you need it, it could be any of the reasons. Then you have a certain baseline and you determine that this baseline, if I'm not getting this job, is not for me. And then you can, then it's an easier decision to make, right? On the other hand, you may think that, this is a great job, this is a great opportunity, money is not the most important thing for me. So to get the best out of it. Now, so the goal, your financial goal in your job change is important to think through and decide before you go for, this whole process. And because at every stage of the process, people will ask you, what are you expecting? What do you want? Now, you're going to tell them about, what do you want? So whether it is a certain percentage, whether it's a certain number, whether it is you are open to whatever they're wanting to offer, you will have an answer for that question, hopefully. And at the end of the day, when they offer, pushing back is definitely possible. I mean, scope for pushing back. And if you have logic, use that logic, why you think that you should deserve more. Go ahead and do that. And this is an iterative process. I mean, from HR and Sandeep from search, I think we can tell you that it's an iterative process. There is nothing saying that you cannot do this. Do that, there will come a time when it can come early on, it can come later on, wherein the company will turn around and say, this is our final offer, we cannot go with that. Now, what you want to do will depend upon what goal you had right at the beginning.
And just to add what Manisha said is, see, in terms of negotiation, it's not only immediate job mein financial goal kya hai. If you are very clear in long term what my financial goals are, 10, 12 years, not only this job, but some people join a company at a minimal salary growth, some people join only if there's a certain growth. So all that, where you're coming from and where that you're arriving from, say you want a particular number, a particular, not only from this job and now perspective, but also from a long-term perspective. Also, you should think about how much flexibility you have around it. Because if you really value the job, if you're wanting to make the change, then you should do anything. You should get the best possible offer. At the same time, you should not allow the offer to go out of your hand. The approach you will take, and it might be so that it's a good offer, but you are okay to let it go, then the approach will be different. So there are multiple things which you'll have to be clear in your mind once you're negotiating.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, she's saying it's.
Okay. Great. So I think we can close the session now.
Great. So thank all of you for joining, and would like to have you. These sessions are every Saturday. Spread a word. Idea is to add value to maximum people. Wish you all the best. Have a great weekend. Relax and enjoy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you,
you.
Manish.
Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks, Manisha.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.